Alright. I am about to share something that it's been trending for a while. You know, I saw it when it first went up. Some of you may not be aware, but I think this kind of very appropriate. Coming on the heels of the live chat I talked about on yesterday, which would be Thursday the 15th of February, in regard to curriculum, certain curriculum not intended for certain children, you know, brown children especially. And I know some of you may need an ice pack because I just stepped on your toes. I stepped on your toes yesterday if you watched it. But the reality is, it's true, and you should not want to accept something because it is given in a curriculum. You know, if it were the flip, trust me, they would not accept it. That's the reason why there's not proper and true information about us. I can go on and on. You know, American history itself is a mess in this books because this country was built on our work. You know, who worked the crops? We did. You don't really hear about all of that the way you should. You know, it's not portrayed that way. They twist it. Okay? And so it is very important to select things that are befitting. Don't just accept it because that's what's there. Okay? That's not the right way. It's not. It's simply not the right way. If you are one that does accept mediocre, inadequate, so be it. However, this is something pertaining to a child and what a child feels. Okay, and I really take into consideration things. When I point things out, I always reference the children. How is a child? You know, because we as adults have discernment, whether it's good or bad. We have discernment. Children have to learn and, you know, be taught what discernment is so that they can tap into it. But when you have a child telling you that something is wrong, you know, a young child that can identify with something as heavy as what I'm going to share with you, then yeah, I think, you know, it's been time to wake up. It's time to wake up, seriously. Okay? Like I said, this is something viral. I applaud this child. The parents, I'm sure, applaud this child. The entire school, you know, because we need kids like this. But it should not take a kid, you know, a child, to point this out. You know, we're all very knowing adults, and this is sad. It is very sad. So, kid roasts his teacher for lying about Columbus in his homework journal. Okay? Like I said, many of you may know about this, many of you may not. January 22nd. So this was last month. This is his note. His journal entry. The little boy's name is King. His teacher wrote this note back to him and stuck it on the paper. King, I am very disappointed in your journal entry today. Okay, most of us know that Christopher Columbus was a terrible human being who never set foot in North America, but instead accidentally discovered some of the Caribbean islands, where he then enslaved, murdered, and terrorized their inhabitants. And yet, in many parts of the country, we still celebrate Columbus Day. But one child was asked to reflect on the day's lesson about Columbus in his school journal, and he did not hold back. Okay, let me show you this so you can go back in. So this is the child's lesson. This is the note. Okay, so this is what he wrote. Today was not a good learning day, blah, blah, blah. I only wanted to hear you talking. You said something wrong, and I cannot listen when I hear lies. My mom said, the only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace. But because Columbus didn't find our country, the Indians did. I like to have Columbus Day off, but I want you not to teach me lies. That is all. My question for the day is, how can white people teach black history? True that. And that's all I was saying yesterday about the curriculum I pointed out. Okay? Nobody can teach our history the way we can. If you're presented something and it's teaching something wrong, incorrectly, on the first page, that sets the stage for the rest of it. You can't really subtract unless you just not use it. Now, if this child can understand, how can they teach it? My stance on it is the same way I say I like to research the people, the designers, everybody that had a hand in making it, their education as well, the psychologists, because they use psychologists to determine how this, material will affect a child, okay? What am I trying to think of? Professors, okay? What should happen for the portion that they want to share about our history, okay, because it's not written from our standpoint, they need to have African American scholars and professors come to the table with them. Somebody that can actually spread some truth and knowledge and add into it, okay? That won't happen, okay? Because people are so used to buying and paying for the lies, they already marketed it. They know people are going to buy it regardless. So again, you accept mediocre, feed it to your children. And here is a child saying, no, this is not the truth, okay? Think about that, seriously. Yeah, it would cost a lot, to have that insight. But you know what? A lot of us, we are so desperate to have our history shared the right way. I'm pretty sure we would partner up with, many people to get the information out there the right way. It's sad how it's lacking. But they won't come to us and ask. Instead, they want to write it up their way. His story. It's not our story. You need to go back and get some scholars, some professors that have elders that have passed along the stories, the real stories. People on the fables and all of that. Put the real stories into these curriculum. That's what would set it apart and make it proper. So underneath his entry, his teacher wrote, King, I am very disappointed in your journal today. King thought about it and then wrote back, okay. Lord, please help me because I'm not going to make it. So it says, King had some truth to tell that day, didn't he? It's unfortunate that rather than commend him for his honesty and his support, his completely justified feelings, the teacher told him she was disappointed in him. That is exactly the kind of response he neither needs nor deserves. This journal entry is the opposite of disappointing. In fact, it exceeds all expectations for classroom journaling. She should be high-fiving him and giving him an extra recess for this. Because isn't this what we want our kids to do? To be critical thinkers who call out racist lies when they see them. Are brave and stand up for the truth. And also praise the name of the great Christopher Wallace. Okay. I see Zippo to be disappointed in here. The child's journal entry is almost line for line, full of the quotes we need to start using in our day-to-day lives. I only want to hear you not talking. I cannot listen when I hear lies. The only Christopher I acknowledge is Wallace. My question for the day is, how can white people teach black history? And when people give you trouble, you don't need. Okay. King is the best. It's all over Twitter. Like I said, it's viral. It's been viral. Okay. So put yourself in the mind of your child, not only when you're looking at material. Images that you put before your children. Look at that book. You are an adult. Yes, you're going to interpret it differently. When you come across the chapter about slavery, do you want to show your child an image of somebody being shackled in chains? Is that what you know, is the child mature enough to handle that? Is that going to damage that child? Is the child ready? Is that, you know, the beginning of us? No, it is not. Okay, that is a portion of it. But in these textbooks and in these curriculum, that's all you see and hear. Can you leave it out? Yes, you can leave it out, but why even support it in the first place? Because that just makes you more of a sellout by even using it. They didn't, you know, they left us out. Why would you use something that leaves us out? They didn't leave themselves out. They bigged themselves up on building a country and XYZ. You know, the slavery, go back to the Bible. Teach it from that standpoint to be correct. Okay? Now, I shared this over on Instagram with a handful of other material, other books. Since then, I have seen leaps and bounds. So many people flock, okay? It's not something new for us. I just shared it. I would hope that people would use this with discretion, okay? And understand that I'm not giving my little kids this, okay? It just doesn't work like that. I do have older children. But see, the things like this, these images, you have to understand, they're going to affect your children, and not in a positive way. Okay, it's not that you're shielding and you're hiding the truth, but are they able to handle it? Now, I love James Anskin. Okay, there's a time and a place for it. Don't just flock for it. Open it up and say, children, let's learn about this because it's about us and it's brown. And no, there's a time and a place. This image right here, just the cover, may bring children to tears. And then you know that the child is not ready for this. Okay, this is a forced migration of African Americans into the New World. Okay, use your discretion. I'm saying that it's not correct. It is correct. Yes, I love it. Okay, like I said, there's a preface to this. You don't just bring this out and say, let's learn black history. Let's learn African American history. Okay? This goes all the way back. This is biblical teachings, okay? It's not just about the slaves and the slave ships and all of that, okay? There's a preface. Okay? So some people might have looked at the cover and got excited and had no idea what was in it. They expected something completely different. And I'll probably go in and talk a little more about this, but we don't do black history. We don't do black history at all. I don't believe in that. Okay? They were not regulated to 1 month. Why should we be regulated to 1 month? That's ludicrous. They did that because of the slave revolts. Okay, they didn't want us to be upset. Some people started acting a fool, rightfully so. But then you accept it because they put a label on it. Are we supposed to be happy? You know, I have talked to you all about the Independence Day. Why are we celebrating? We were not free. We were slaves. We don't celebrate that stuff. Okay? Let's say Christopher Columbus. Okay? So I will, go in and go into a little more detail about this and how and why and this, that, and other. But this is not for a little child. Okay? You have to highly use your discretion. Maybe a mature 9, 10-year-old. But you don't want to give this, these are children. This will terrify a child. Even though it is true, it will terrify a child. It terrifies me. Slave pens. Okay? So be careful. Be very careful. Pay attention to what you give to children. This is horrific. Branding. This is horrific. But see, again, yes, this is the stuff that they leave out of the books, okay? So yes, we have to bridge the gap. But right here, every head and every thought that went into here could have gone to a mainstream curriculum and really explained it. They don't want to do that. This is about the size of what we see in mainstream curriculum. That's it. And so children are being brought up to think that this is slavery. This is it. This is all they know of slaves, or all they know of African Americans. And yeah, that would terrify me. If, I see why there's prejudice. Because you would think something is wrong with, the average other color child would think something is wrong with the African American child. Because of this. Leave me your thoughts and your comments. Dialogue with me. Like I said, I do not push, advocate, promote any sort of black history anywhere. I did something last year. Possibly the year before. Yes, I did. On black history. I don't glorify that. Here, Instagram, anywhere. I do not assimilate in any way, shape, or fashion. Blessings and peace.